and its position within democratic transition processes, we conclude today the proceedings of this international symposium, which we are honored that it enjoyed the high patronage of His Majesty, King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, who committed to addressing a message deep in meaning, oriented towards the future, and abundant with pride of the achievements of our country in terms of reconciliations under the enlightened leadership of His Majesty. In addition to the royal high patronage, this symposium has earned more value since it gathered actors who were at the heart of action within the Equity and Reconciliation Commission, a practice of Moroccan peculiarity, officials of national and international human rights bodies, parliamentarians or legislators, representatives of the executive branch, and representatives of the civil society organizations working in human rights on human rights in their broad notion. In the world of today, where the rhetoric of intolerance, introversion, conflicts, and national egoism sometimes arise, we most need such meetings, particularly when it comes to questions that impact the essence of humanity and the human conscience, meaning rights in their various connotations and generations. Said questions unify the people who believe in coexistence and difference. We felt joy as we received elites from diverse continents and the different regions of the Kingdom of Morocco, as well as from international bodies. We also felt immense joy for receiving prominent African human rights, intellectual, and literary figures, including the renowned and Nobel Prize laureate African author Mr. Wole Soyinka, one of the emblematic icons of African culture. I should apologize for putting particular emphasis on Africa, not only because we are standing on an authentic African ground, but also because we are aware of the occupation and injustice it endured in the past and the unjust and unfair world order that it is suffering from today, as Africans pay the price of a colonial heritage, climate imbalances, and an inequitable global governance. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Speaker of a legislative institution and a parliamentarian for several legislative terms now, I witness and feel from the position of official and practitioner the profound legislative reform dynamics, the recommendations of the Equity and Reconciliation Commission launched in Morocco, as well as the impact of the laws that have been enacted by way of embodying the recommendations of the Commission, and more importantly, achieving justice and safeguarding the present and future of our country. In this respect, His Majesty qualified the creation of the Commission as a sovereign and voluntary decision. The reforms implemented by our country were not only characterized by profoundness, but their main trait was their expansion over several political, economic, social, and cultural questions and fields, in addition to the valor in analyzing the past and turning it into a living history that incentivizes unity, the boldness to implement reforms without hesitation, and the trust in said reforms. This process culminated in the 2011 Constitution, characterized by its libertarian nature as it grants rights in their different dimensions and establishes the institutions and legal provisions that safeguard them. Morocco carries out such processes without rough severance on the basis of accumulation and within the scope of consensus. These features are some of the traits of the Moroccan institutional and democratic model. Ladies and gentlemen, as His Majesty reaffirmed, the achievements of Morocco in transitional justice are amongst the highlights of the political history of our country that reflect the royal prudence and the distinction and peculiarity of Morocco, its history, and its institutions. The projects conducted under the leadership of His Majesty in various areas translate the commitment to grant democracy and human rights their economic, social, and cultural connotation, along with the adequate spatial and social dimensions. Our achievements have become a national and human heritage that future generations must preserve, as they are the levers that should be utilized to achieve further progress and prowess, to address the challenges of the future, and for our country to pursue the delivery of its historical message as a land of peace, hospitality, and openness. As much as this asset is a source of pride, it should also serve as an incentive to address the challenges of the present Morocco and the present world amidst a context of profound transformations and novel challenges in various fields. Our responsibility today as actors and elites is undoubtedly to display seriousness and diligence to anchor these institutional and human rights achievements, and also to gather our strength to pursue the battle of great jihad for construction and development. Ladies and gentlemen, given the value of the ideas you shared during this two-day symposium, it would be beneficial to add them to the Moroccan and international human rights culture by recording and issuing them in a format that can be shared as widely as possible to preserve the memory and enrich the global debate on transitional justice and its mechanisms. I thank you for your contribution and for your keen listening. Thank you, Your Excellence. I would like to give the floor to the head of the National Council on Human Rights, Mrs. Amina Bouayesh. The floor is yours, ma'am.
شكرا.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker for the House of Representatives, Mr. Speaker for the House of Councilors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters and friends who shared with us such touching moments and informative and academic moments on our discussion about pathways for transitional justice and the Moroccan experience in this regard. Here we are today on the 7th of December to conclude the works of the National Symposium on Pathways for Transitional Justice. Thank you to all the experts, participants, and academians, and I would like to join the Speaker for the House of Representatives for to express our gratitude for your interest and enriching the conversation on various experiences. Here we are on the 7th of December to conclude a journey that spanned over 20 years and that has empowered all Moroccans, regardless of their opinions and orientations, to own up to their history and to connect with their past in terms of human rights, and to also discover our power in overcoming the violations against human rights, and our strong belonging to the conversation in order to sever our ties with these violations. So lots of ideas arise on the characteristics of a transitional justice, as mentioned earlier by our friend who emphasized that of the pathways and outcomes for transitional justice. Our interpretation of the Moroccan experience that has comprised of all of the beautiful features of our journey has led to expanding them. And so I believe that our interpretation or reflection on the Moroccan experience in its special context was founded on the beginning and launch of a pathway for a democratic transition. So our intent was not related to establishing peace, but we needed to sever ties with a given or a certain measure to measure that aligns with the values of democracy. So the Commission has also taken into consideration in terms of accountability how the state is responsible for violation crimes. This is because the state, in the foundations of human rights, that the state is obligated to protect such human rights. And we haven't seen the balance between the responsibility on protection and violation. So the state is responsible for these violations. In the same vein, it is also responsible for protecting the lives and human rights of citizens by establishing the commission. And so what has this achievement led to? It has provided us with a clear vision that is coherent and harmonized on providing reparations for all victims as part of the responsibility for the state. And we were able to also provide reparations for the events and facts that were found outside of our country, such as the case for victims and those who had their rights violated right after Morocco's independence. And we also have a methodology that is innovative for victims of regional conflict at the time, whether for those who were arrested and tortured by the separatist front or the victims who had political opinions within these camps. And so this is how the responsibility is for the state to provide the reparations, and we did the state has provided these reparations. And so we also worked on applying recommendations, and this is an exception for the Moroccan experience that started in 2006 with the Consultative Council directly after the royal speech, after we submitted the report, and it spanned from 2006 to today. We were also, as part of the commission, to find facts and reveal the truth of the victims. 803 people were found dead. We haven't revealed other we haven't found other burials, but we were able to provide the reparations needed to the families of these victims. Indeed, the Commission for Equity and Reconciliation needed medical expertise to identify these victims. And when it comes to reparations in the Moroccan Kingdom, I believe that it is not only part of providing settlements for the victims, but it also has to do with minor victims who are minors, for them to be able to be reinserted back to society and to receive administrative settlements, as well as many other forms of reinsertion and health care and complementary retirement for those who went back to, who were able to find work after they were released. And so reparations are they go beyond the concept or definition, and this is part of the an important aspect of the experience in how we reached 3 million dirhams in terms of reparations without taking into account health care that has its own convention or contractual obligation for the government. And so when it comes to reparations that were mentioned by His Majesty in his message, collective reparation is also a concept that added an essential axe to the topic when it comes to the characteristics and elements of transitional justice. So before the country takes into consideration reparations as part of its policies, we would like to say that during that time there were 13 regions and prefectures that had programs of reparation of about 160 million dirhams. But what's essential to mention our success for this experience is that this definition of collective reparation is instaured in the regional policies and public policies. So we also worked on fighting vulnerability and marginalization for the areas that were in proximity with detention centers. So this is not only about reparations, but also about public policies for reconciliation throughout various programs and action plans, as well as other strategies for development. So what about the commission that has other facets? Firstly, the Moroccan constitution, as we've heard yesterday on judicial reforms. The Moroccan constitution today is covering the various aspects as part of the recommendations from the Commission to protect human rights. We know that we have 80 articles in the Moroccan constitution that have to do with protection of human rights. On top of this, I'm not going to delve into the details for each article and its provisions, but you know better about the Constitution. As a member of this commission, I was very detailed and meticulous in these topics when it comes to how the constitutional protection of human rights were clearly defined. When it comes to procedures, on the procedural aspect, we have never recorded any case of disappearance since the commission was established. So for the same goes for the National Council. We recorded no cases and no complaints no complaints were filed to the prosecution. Are there any cases of torture? There are. In 2023, we had 4 cases of torture that were recorded. But what's essential to us is that the legal text is applied in accountability. There were 4 cases of torture. The torturers were tried and they're prosecuted, and the verdict came out. So we are for the application of the recommendations, and we did this in terms of standards and procedures. And the same goes for visits to detention or freedom deprivation centers. And so this is when it comes to amounting to 164 visits. And these visits were not just done to penitentiaries or prisons, but this was done to the Moroccan DGSN or the police, the Gendarmerie Royale, or other centers as well. And so these visits are unannounced. These are unsolicited and surprise visits. So This protection in terms of standards, procedures, and elsewhere, there we have lots of progress in this regard. So among the other recommendations that I would like to highlight are recommendations that protect human rights. We also passed a legal text from 2017 on the independence of the judicial system. Is it fully independent? Well, not exactly. However, there is an independence of the judicial system and the public prosecution. So the authorities and powers are balanced and they are working together in order for us to have a cooperation that is ever present throughout time and without any interruptions. And so we are also preserving the recommendations of the Commission when it comes to preserving the memory and organizing workshops for public hearing sessions of the victims. And so this is the work that we do as part of the National Council on Human Rights. So our philosophy to preserve memory is also multi-dimensional. It has not only included the spaces or the spaces where people were forcibly arrested or arbitrarily arrested, but it has to do with the space and a place to resume life normally, and we need to overcome this pain and fear. So among these spaces that shall be opened soon, the most important one is the Tazmamart space, and the legislative authority officially announces that this space shall be open in the next year, 2025. And so we hope that the people here with us in the room can join us in opening this space in 2025 as a public space for all Moroccans and all visitors of the country. On top of renovating memory preservation spaces, there are other spaces where the victims' souls rest in peace. We would like to make sure that these spaces can provide peace for these victims' souls. And so this is in order for them to rest and to induce a sense for the visitor and for the victims lying in peace, that they would feel at peace at home in their own home country. So this is not a reform for the visitors, but this is something that takes care of their memory and their sacrifices. So we chose to commemorate the collective memory by opening a new museum such as the Al Husseima Museum, which we hope to see open at the end of 2025. So we have the strategy for memory preservation that goes beyond spaces and rehabilitating the burial sites and cemeteries for victims, but also to support the issuances of the public opinion and history preservation that has to do with many causes, such as the ones that you can see in the exhibition throughout the 260 books that were supported during their publishing phase. I would like to also indicate one of the elements of the Moroccan experience called the literature of prisons. So these are autobiographies and testimonies of the past. All of these are under the title of are under the umbrella of the National Council on Human Rights, where they were written in Morocco, proofread in Morocco, published in Morocco, and distributed all over Morocco. So these are many books that were written in Morocco, published in Morocco, and printed in Morocco. These victims and their families never went abroad to have their books written abroad. We are faced with a new horizon in Morocco. This is a new space for free speech for our society, and we made sacrifices, and we worked indeed with passion. So what I would like to say by concluding this important symposium by saying the following. The Moroccan experience has shown to the public Moroccan people that they can take it upon themselves to drive change. So the people say, we want this, and I want to head this way or that other way. And so the Moroccans are working on, have taken it upon themselves to drive change. This change would not have been successful if it weren't for the sacrifice of the entire country and society, which reflects the maturity that we provide for processing and discussing the standing issues. We are dependent on an approach that is fundamental to societal change, political change, economic change, and cultural change, with the contribution and participation of everyone throughout, regardless of backgrounds or opinions, under the Moroccan identity that is multi-dimensional, as mentioned in the Moroccan constitution. This pathway and this approach has allowed the Moroccan kingdom and the National Council on Human Rights to acknowledge this pathway and these transformations, as well as this approach. I would like to end my speech by indicating one of the best elements of the Moroccan experience. Our friend from South Africa mentioned this earlier. We shared moments together, and these moments were touching during the public hearing sessions. Many men and women came to talk and to admit during a total public awareness, and it is undoubtable that they are today calm and comfortable to what was achieved, and we were able to make them smile. Their pain has no place in Morocco anymore, and our commitment is ever present to preserve their memory, to make sure that no Moroccan can live such pain and suffering anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam President.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. أعتذر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, may the peace and blessings be upon the Prophet Muhammad. Your Excellency, the President of the Council, our colleagues coming from abroad and also from Morocco with protocols observed. I am very pleased to say in the conclusion to welcome you again in the Moroccan Parliament, expressing my gratitude and my sincere thanks to your participation that is in favor of experience exchanges with regard to the important ideas on transitional justice. We extend our thanks also to the Council of Human Rights for the cooperation, the coordination in order to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Equity and Reconciliation Commission, which is a national response to our challenges. And it is also, the transitional justice is a model at the continental and the international level. Of course, the high patronage of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, may Allah assist him to make this event successful, is an evidence from him that he is committed to make progress with regard to human rights. And in this context, The royal message that His Majesty sent to the participants yesterday is an evidence to this orientation, shedding light on the strategic depth and the uniqueness of the Moroccan experience. And it was also a clear call to move forward, to achieve more progress, and also to strengthen the culture of human rights at the level of the national institutions and other legislatory body also. Ladies and gentlemen, during this event, international event, we all benefited from best practices from different countries on transitional justice and the legislative and institutional reforms, as well as constitutional reforms, as well as the roles of parliaments, civil society organizations in implementing the recommendations of transitional justice. And in this vein, we have seen how the Moroccan experience emphasized the importance of revealing the truth and ensuring reparation in an open way inside the society by convening public hearings in all the kingdom. And without any hyperbole, we could say that the uniqueness of the Moroccan experience is one component of opening dialogue with all stakeholders in order to tackle the files of the past violations, which led to opening new reformative paths. We are now gaining the fruits of these reforms in a very volatile context that is characterized by the uncertainty. And in this framework, we have to recall what has been emphasized by His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, concerning the importance of the national process that was emphasized in the royal message yesterday, through which His Majesty emphasized that the Moroccan experience contributed greatly to developing the transitional justice path and also to move forward into new horizons, not only at the regional level but also at the continental and international levels. In addition to this, regardless of the achievements that we have made, like building a public institution, it wasn't enough. However, it is a democratic, authentic model. This is the end of the quotation of His Majesty the King. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to that, I would like to share with you some of additional components of the transitional justice. In addition to what we have talked about yesterday, and it includes the following: the progress made, the unprecedented progress made with regard to revealing the truth concerning the violations in the past, and the acknowledgement of the state about its responsibility by convening public hearings and thematic sessions that have been convened by the Commission, and it was broadcast via television, making the public institution as a fundamental reference as it is enshrined in the Constitution of 2011. And it is very important to constitutionalize the recommendations. Expediting the implementation of the recommendations concerning reparation, especially after the release of the final report, and entrusting this with a dedicated and ad hoc commission affiliated with the Council. Also, to follow up these recommendations, it is also an unprecedented step to make sure that the recommendations are implemented. Another thing that is important, which is a reparation program, which was an added value to the transitional justice process, considering gender-based approach in our process, also putting forward measures in order to preserve the memory. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to indicate that the transitional justice process is a response to His Majesty's instructions that helped enshrining a comprehensive concept for reconciliation that would deal with the past violation and also to put forward safeguards in order not to fall into the same trap again. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate my welcoming words to all the participants from all over Morocco and from all over the world, women, men, media, and I would like also to thank the administrative staff of the Parliament, as well as to the National Council of Human Rights and to anybody who helped in the success of this event. Thank you very much, and I here call the end of this event, and thank you very much.